Hello, welcome everybody. We are so glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, Laura,
Hey.
calling from China.
Hello, welcome. Oh, hi everybody. As you're coming into the room, I encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat, say where you're coming from, and to fill this moment of transition, we've got a chat question. So, how will you spend your time at the next travel destination on your bucket list? So give that some thought, throw it in the chat. I know I've been thinking about this one. Karina, where's next on your bucket list? Any thoughts on what you'll do?
Ooh, I would absolutely love to go snowboarding in Japan someday and also eat all of the things. How about you, Lara?
Wow, that's incredible. My most immediate destination is going to be Colorado. I'm looking for both winter and sunshine. We've got some gray here in Chicago at the moment, but more bucket list. I want to go to New Zealand and just hike and paint. Yeah. Ooh, I'm seeing Italy. Galapagos Islands, awesome.
Fernando de Noronha. Where is that, Shauna?
That is an UNESCO site off the northern coast of Brazil, near in between Natal and Recife. You have to take a boat out.
Wow.
Australia.
It's a beautiful, wonderful island in the Atlantic Ocean. Utopia was, the idea after seeing that island, it's really beautiful.
Sounds like we've got some travel tips from Laura if you're headed there.
A group field trip, is that in the budget?
Oh, Jerry, connect with me. I've got a great place to visit, a women's village in Kenya.
Awesome. Well, we're 2 minutes in. It looks like everyone's successfully connected to audio. So what do you say? Shall we dive in?
Let's do it, Laura.
Awesome. Well, hello again. In case you need a reminder, you are here at the Driving K12 Innovation Summit, all about tech enablers. Driving K12 is a CoSN initiative that provides insights and recommendations to help educators and edtech professionals and leaders like you drive innovation in your contexts. At the heart of this initiative, we have sponsors and advisory board members. I'm going to throw it over to Karina. Who do we have to thank today?
Oh, so many awesome folks. Thank you, ClassLink, HP, Microsoft, Telos, Cisco, ENA Catch-On, Jamf, and of course, Khajiit. We couldn't do this without you. We're so appreciative for your support.
And we have representatives from several of these organizations here today to help facilitate conversation and have a bit of fun. So thank you for making this exciting event possible. Now, let's talk about some other people who make this work possible. At the heart of this initiative is a global advisory board of over 100 educators and edtech experts from around the world who together identify the most important topics for driving K12 innovation in the coming year.
Extra, Laura, I'm sorry, but I have to interrupt you because our most recent edition of Driving Innovation Weekly on K12 Innovation was such a success. I mean, our most amazing edition, most popular ever, most shared. We can't miss the opportunity to do a follow-up here with these innovators, educators, and leaders that are in this room right now. We have to get this story. So you might have thought you were joining us for a virtual summit, but this is not just any summit. This is a newsroom. Driving Innovation Weekly magazine. And we are super lucky to have a team of world-class reporters here just to get the scoop from you. In a moment, our reporters are going to introduce themselves. We'll call out a roll call to get their beat. And before we do that, each reporter is covering one of our top topics, which were picked by you, as Laura mentioned. So Laura, let's hear about those top topics.
Absolutely. So our first magazine edition came out a couple weeks ago and focused on hurdles and accelerators. So today, our second edition is all about tech enablers. These are the tools that help you drive innovation in your context, enabling the success of students and educators and ultimately the world. And so we have reporters assigned to each of these topics, and we're on a fast deadline. Got to get the magazine to print. So Karina, let's do a quick roll call, see who we've got in the room, and get going.
A reporter roundup, just, thinking about some Encanto in here. Okay, so first of all, we have got, these are all part of Tech Enablers. Many of you joined us a couple of weeks ago for our hurdles and accelerators. So here are our Tech Enablers, the tools that grease the wheels for schools to surmount hurdles and leverage accelerators. First, we've got digital collaboration environments. So Jerry and Laura, would you mind introducing yourselves and giving us just a quick beat of your story and interest? Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay, hi, I'm Jerry Kimball. I'm coming to you from Kansas, and I am the National Academic Advisor for ClassLink, and I am excited to be working on the beat about digital collaboration and how it is helping, and hear some of the stories to find out how it's helped you and what you have seen so far. So glad to be here tonight.
Thanks, Jerry. How about you, Laura? Laura Mota.
Yes. Hello, I'm from Uruguay. I'm enjoying a beautiful summertime here in the South. So I'm thrilled to listen to your point of view on ideas on collaborative environments, digital collaboration, and how digital collaboration as a long-standing trend supports teaching and learning. I think we have a lot to talk about that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jerry and Laura. All right, on to untethered broadband and connectivity. Let's hear first from Kelly and then Michael. Go ahead, Kelly.
All right, thanks. Well, it's great to be here today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kelly Mae Balmer. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services in Desert Sands Unified School District in Southern California, where the weather is also beautiful today. And I'm very excited to be working with Michael. We'll both be listening to some great stories from all of you as they pertain to technologies that allow us to have a robust connection in our learning environments that are wireless in nature.
Wonderful. Over to you, Michael.
Hey, so Michael Flood. I come to you from Khajiit and the virtual newsroom out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm very happy to be working the beat on untethered broadband and connectivity. I think all of us, when we look at our students moving around the halls, they're not tied down to a desk, they're not tied down to a wire. And when they leave the school, they're really not tied down. How do we keep them all connected and learning? And this is what we're going to talk about in our session.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. All right, and on to our third topic. Analytics and adaptive technologies. So Shauna, you are up, and then do we have Vincent? Is Vincent here?
No, it looks like he was unable to make it. So all the more important that we have Shauna.
Shauna, over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm speaking to you from the balmy, humid Sao Paulo, Brazil. I work here as the Director of Analytics, Innovation, and Research for the American School of Sao Paulo. It's Escola Graduada. And we're going to be really looking at what I have to live with, and I'm sure many of you do in the K-12 world, and that's open technologies that we can use to really pull in student learning, and really want to hear your thoughts and opinions on how do you take what happens in the classroom and have that technology component to really measure how students are doing. What is that impact from what's happening to student level?
Fantastic. Thank you so much to our world-class reporters. So what are we doing? You are going to be sent into random breakout groups with one of these fabulous reporters and their top topic. You'll have about 20 minutes to share stories, experiences, tools, ask each other questions, and connect. And at the end of the breakouts, each group will have 1 hot minute to share your cover blurb, which is a key idea that came out of your conversation, which I'll be graphic recording in real time to create our very own custom magazine cover. So we have some tools for you to use if you would like. Lara just dropped the slide deck into the chat box, and you can see here we've created a 2-page spread template. Now, the goal of this breakout is not to have the whole thing filled in by the end. If you do, amazing. If you don't, no problem. This is just a template to help organize your thoughts if it serves you. We also have a list of draft questions that might guide your conversation on the following page. So these slides start at slide 12 in the deck, and you'll see the topic in the upper left-hand corner and the breakout lead's name under authors, so you'll know where to find yourselves. And then on the next page below it are some questions that might support your conversation. So introducing yourselves, thinking about in this current moment, what might the headline for this topic be? That's what we really want to know. What makes this year unique in terms of the topic? Share a story of when you've seen this topic in action to support your learners. What promise do you see? And let's be real, let's acknowledge that this has been and continues to be a really tough time. What can we hold up and celebrate that gives us hope for ongoing work? So these are suggestions. If you have other questions that you want to ask, or you prefer to take notes in a more linear written fashion over here, fantastic. If you want to do something completely different, all the power to you. The goal is just to, again, connect with each other, share your ideas, and then come together for an idea of a cover blurb, which brings me to one of the most important things is please choose someone who will speak for your group before we bring you back. So we want to just hear those voices, get all angles of the story, and celebrate that you have and continue to persevere in tough times. Before we let you loose, Lara's got our reporter code of conduct. Go ahead, Lara.
Absolutely. So formal editor hat here. We expect everyone to adhere to our high standard of ethics here at Driving K12. Here's what we expect. Speak from your experience and welcome others to speak from theirs. Step up when you have something to share, and step back to make space for all voices to be heard. Listen to understand, not just waiting for your turn to talk. And it's okay to disagree, but do so with curiosity, not hostility.
Awesome. Okay, reporters, it's time to grab your digital notebooks, your templates, and get ready to grab the scoop from our awesome participants tonight, today, wherever you are, whatever time it is. Educators, we are so excited that you're here today. We want to hear your stories, and we're going to put you in those breakouts with the reporters for the next 20 minutes. We'll send you a couple of warnings to let you know how much time has passed, and then we'll regroup, and the reporters or someone from your group will share back your cover line, and we will compile our magazine issue. So, any questions about what we're asking you to do? If you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. I'm not seeing or hearing anything. If there's any issues at all, Lara and I are just a click of a button away. So without further ado, we will beam you into your groups and see you in about 20 minutes.
Hey, You should see on your screen an invitation to join a breakout room. I see some people beaming out of here. If you get stuck, if you have trouble, let us know, throw it in the chat, unmute, and we will help you out. Off they go.
Yay. Let's see.
We will see you all soon. At your convenience. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. See you all hopping into this room. Teleported out of your breakout rooms. Fantastic. Okay, all right, reporters. What did you hear? So let's run through all of our stories. Karina will be live graphic recording, so we won't be asking you to screen share. But if you want to follow along in the slide deck, you are more than welcome to. We're going to do verbal summaries of the cover blurb or the most important idea that came out of your breakout rooms, and hear what you have to say. You'll see live emerging in front of you notes about these ideas courtesy of Karina. And let's just get things started with group number 1. So Jerry, or a representative from Jerry's group, tell us, what do we need to know?
So we're ready, and our representative is Ruben Puentendora. Take it away, Ruben.
All right, so I will make this brief. We had a wonderful conversation. The first thing that came up about digital collaboration was that it makes hybrid learning possible. In other words, the type of learning that can incorporate both the physical world and the remote world of the student. A key point that came up is this allowed generational access to learning that was not possible in previous generations across countries, across subject areas, across domains. So for instance, accessing AI learning in a very different community from within China, accessing guitar learning with other students as the teachers, other students as the instructors. At the same time, we also talked about the role that digital collaboration has played in the context of superintendents and other communities where leaders were able to share knowledge, information, and make it their way forward, frankly, in a world where they would otherwise have had a difficult time doing so. Additionally, we talked about students that were able to access learning in ways they didn't before, or students who just didn't access learning before or contribute or be able to contribute. That student that was too shy or bullied at school or ignored by teachers, or who needed a special type of assistance that they got for the first time. We always hear the negative stories, but there was a lot of positive stories about students that had first opportunities for the first time with this. An additional aspect that came to the foreground was accessibility and special needs, how some of the media that were in the context of digital collaboration evolved in the context of accessibility and special needs to provide some of those resources. So when all of this comes together, when we look at this, when we see how all of this pans out, what does the headline look like? And we're still playing around with different ideas, but at the end of the day, this was a question of digital collaboration, defining learning as learning for today and for tomorrow, not just as emergency remote learning, but as learning that spanned both the current needs due to the pandemic, but also what we see as the opportunity moving forward. You can use the term, if it never waste a good crisis, et cetera, but the key thing becomes that this is not something that goes away or was only suited or should only be viewed as a patch for emergency remote learning, but rather defining good opportunities, new opportunities, opportunities that we can learn from what we've seen now, but creating new possibilities for learning for tomorrow. Anything I've forgotten
Awesome.
from other people in the group?
That was
Thumbs
great,
up.
Ruben. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic, great report out. Let's go on to group 2. I'm going to give a friendly reminder. We've got to keep these a little bit snappy, 1 to 2 minute report outs, just in the interest of time. So heading over to Laura or a representative from that second group. What do you have to add? Analytics and adaptive technologies. I'm sorry, digital collaboration environments.
So I was the nominee
Thank-
by the team to go ahead and
Yes.
present. So Laura, if you can, is it, sorry, am I jumping somebody's digital collaborations environments too?
You're
So
good.
I was the representative of the team, and I don't know, Laura, if you want to flip up the slide for our team. But we felt that the most important thing to us was enabling meaningful collaborations and relationships. We felt that the environment is all about being able to make connections, make relationships, and doing it in a way where it really provokes student engagement. We had wonderful success stories where parents and scholars were grateful to say thank you during the pandemic, that these were opportunities where they actually were able to have normalcy in their life. And the team said, we're not going back. We recognized that there was barriers and opportunities. And one of the things that really excited us is that it wasn't about shutting down these spaces or locking them down. It was about creating safe spaces. It was about creating an amazing culture. It was about building digital citizenship, where we demonstrated and showed effective ways of collaborating, and not letting the tools get in the way, but being the enablers, right, that really empowered or enabled the ability to be able to make those authentic connections. We also talked about our limited English proficient. We talked about our students in poverty and how these new environments broke down the brick and mortar, and that collaboration didn't just take place in class. Now it could it could be alive anywhere and anytime.
Fantastic, thank you. Over to Michael, or a rep from your group. What's your cover blurb?
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and speak for our group. So we're on slide 18, and you can find some quotes there at the top. Two of those I'll just read out. I used to spend my afternoon and evening finding Wi-Fi. My life revolved around finding Wi-Fi. Now I'm connected anywhere. And then the second one was, I like to scan networks from my neighbors and contact them to fine tune their frequencies and channels. Some community network help. We actually had two headlines that we came up with. One of those was flexibility of untethered students and teachers enables reimagined learning. So we had a lot of discussion about how not only did people adapt during the pandemic, leveraging all of this technology, but even the way that teaching was being done, lesson plans being broken into smaller chunks, tying that into micro-credentialing, and students being able to work together in their own community of learning, and basically build those on the fly. And that led to this second headline in the discussion, which I think is kind of thought-provoking. Will untethering increase students' connection to learning?
Fantastic, thank you. Kelly, or a rep from your group.
We do have a rep. I'm going to turn it over to Ed. Oops, you're muted, Ed.
I forgot that when we rejoined this group, I got remuted, and I'd switch back to the slide to look at that. So anyway, untethered broadband and connectivity group 1, our headline was not just broadband, but untethered robust connectivity for all. And thinking of that, we talked a bit about a few initiatives, a Delete the Divide initiative. We also talked about designing for mobility, and just ensuring robust connectivity. And thinking of that, the quotes or stories, we had about CoSN's, 96% of students are at home using Wi-Fi of some sort, but it must be powerful enough to enable video conferencing, for example. But at the same time, that lack of connectivity doesn't just create a homework gap, as we've been talking about for years, but it creates an education gap. So how are we educating across the board? And within that, the learning spaces in our classrooms, being flexible and able to be move in and out of the rooms, change spaces, but then at the same time move from school to home, home to places in your community, but then reinventing that content as well. So not just that digital substitute, so to speak, where it's just low-level content, but how robust connectivity can enable really powerful learning experiences, from augmented reality to video conferencing, other types of things where we're really connected in more powerful ways. because a lot of times we don't think of that as a problem about just addressing the lack of connectivity, but evidence clearly shows that it's more about the robust and untethered connectivity, not so that you're not bound by wires and things like that anymore. But how do we build that capacity as well?
Excellent. Thank you. Well, wow, we've got some great headlines, some great cover blurbs here, as you can see emerging as Karina makes those sketch notes, that graphic facilitation. And so this is our cover, the cover of our publication from today's session. And speaking of publications, we are here today to announce the Tech Enablers publication, 2022 Driving K12 Innovation Tech Enablers. Before we tell you more about that, Karina, is there anything you wanted to share, having just heard of these great stories?
Do we have our analytics group?
We're here.
Oh, Shauna, I am so sorry.
Okay,
Thank you,
just have to
Karina.
you just have to deal with Pete and Cheryl. They had this brawl in the first 20 minutes of the conversation about who got to talk. I think Pete won, so you just get to deal with them. So I'm gonna turn it over to Pete to talk about that analytics piece of it.
Well, we had a bit of a hard time deciding on what our topic title would be, but I think it maybe be adapting to analytics. We talked quite a bit about how the pandemic has changed some things. And so that I think was initially started at, like a lot of things about the pandemic, negative, but also kind of coming out of that, a lot of good data because we're using so much more digital resources. So I'm going to hand it off to Cheryl to talk a little bit about that piece.
Well, I think one of the things that came forth pretty clearly is that with the emergence of all the funding that came about as a result of the pandemic, there were more resources that districts were able to use. And so what we saw is companies stepping up and providing more analytics based on what districts needed and what they wanted. And quite frankly, we said they should have had before the pandemic, but with the ability to purchase, there were some differences that came out. And so, you know, we also talked about very quickly that how all this is played out depended upon the state of sophistication before the pandemic in the district. And it's really not one size fits all in terms of analytics or personalization in terms of adaptive technologies, because some districts were farther down the road than others. And so we've got a gap that we've seen widen because of that. And the question is, how does that get addressed? Pete?
I think that's all.
Fantastic. Well, thank goodness we got your comments. I apologize for skipping ahead. Sue, please. Yeah, sorry.
There was a point made about where's the student involvement. So while there's all this data collection that goes on, how much of it goes back to the teacher? How much is sitting in what I would call a dirty filing cabinet somewhere? But we also have to figure out where our learners' heads are in terms of, is this actually helping them, and if they have special needs or whatever. But we don't seem to be getting that piece of the equation right now. And I don't think I'm supposed to talk, so I think I'll just go ahead and mute.
Well, excellent comments though. Thank you for speaking up, Sue. Okay. Well, we've got our magazine cover here with all of your ideas, as well as the slide deck for some more detailed conversation notes. And real quick, I want to turn things over to Keith to share his perspective on why this work matters. So today we're releasing the Driving K12 Innovation 2022 Tech Enablers publication. Karina's putting that link in the chat so you can go download your free copy. If you don't have a CoSN account, you can create a free CoSN account. and share it far and wide. This report, thank you so much to the advisory board members and sponsors supporting orgs for making this possible. And I'm going to pause my monologue and throw things over to Keith. Keith, why does this work matter now? Why do these topics matter now?
Well, I had the pleasure today of being in Nashville, which I will be back in Nashville in April, but I was here for the national superintendents. Those, of course, are the heads of our school districts here in the United States. And 2 times, both this morning and this afternoon, we had cohorts of about 30 or 40 superintendents who are getting certified as leaders. And we had a great conversation around what is innovation and what does it matter in the times of the pandemic. And we used this Driving K12 innovation as the way to have that conversation. I see Ann McMullen nodding because she co-facilitated with me. And, I think that the superintendents were really quite impressed with the work of the advisory board and how it relates to the issues that they are facing. And I think they like the intellectual framework of starting with what are our hurdles? What's the why of why we want innovation? I think secondly, they want to know how they swim with the current, what are the accelerators that are happening. And then it's only then that we think about the tech enabler, the technology, the tech enablers. And too often, those of us who are technology advocates get that backwards. We start with the technology. And so I think it's very important and very helpful. Not that these are tablets from heaven to tell us the answer for 2022 around innovation, but rather to spark a conversation like we've had tonight. Or this morning, wherever you are. Back to you.
Thank you, Keith. As we wrap things up, just a friendly reminder, this is where you can go to find the link. And we'll be emailing out some recap materials tomorrow, shareable social media links, that sort of thing, as well as the recording and the graphic facilitation. So that magazine cover that you all helped create today. We want to close with a couple final thoughts from Karina, if anything has popped up that I've missed.
Just want to say that link we dropped in the chat, we know that also takes you to hurdles and accelerators. You'll look and there's a tech enablers link too. So you get both with one powerful link there. And so if you have any issues, don't worry, it'll be coming out to you as well.
Awesome. And as we wrap things up, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has made this possible. Thank you for joining us today to have these conversations. Huge shout out to our sponsors, our supporting org, our advisory board, and of course, the team that pulls this all together. Any final thoughts, Karina, Keith, before we call it an evening or a morning or afternoon, wherever you are?
No, we just really appreciate you all. Thanks everyone for jumping into Driving Innovation Weekly. We are so proud to have been able to gather ideas and share and connect with you. So keep an eye out for that follow-up. And thank you, Laura, for everything that you do to help support this community as well. Yay!
Right back at you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for your creative